Redundant publications and related ethical issues in research. In academic and scientific research, originality and integrity are essential for the advancement of knowledge. However, certain unethical practices related to publication, collectively referred to as redundant publications, undermine these principles. Redundant publication occurs when the same or substantially similar research findings are published more than once without proper acknowledgement or justification. This practice distorts the scientific record, wastes resources, and misleads readers and researchers. Redundant publication includes several forms such as duplicate publication, overlapping publication, salami slicing, selective reporting, and misrepresentation of data. Although these practices may appear less severe than fabrication or falsification, they still violate ethical standards and can have significant negative consequences. Duplicate publication. Duplicate publication refers to the practice of publishing the same research findings in more than one journal or publication without proper disclosure or permission. In such cases, the content, data, and conclusions remain essentially the same, but the work is presented as if it were new or original. This practice is considered unethical because it creates a false impression of increased productivity and can lead to the same findings being counted multiple times in scientific reviews or meta-analyses. It also wastes the time and resources of editors, reviewers, and readers. For example, a researcher may publish a study on the effectiveness of a particular drug in one journal and then submit the same paper with minor changes in wording or title to another journal without informing the editors. This would be a clear case of duplicate publication. Overlapping publication. Overlapping publication occurs when a researcher publishes multiple papers that share substantial similarities in content, data, or findings without clearly acknowledging the overlap. Unlike duplicate publication, the papers are not identical, but they contain significant repetition. This practice becomes unethical when the overlap is not properly cited or justified, as it misleads readers into believing that the findings are entirely new. Overlapping publication can also inflate the perceived amount of research conducted on a particular topic. For example, a researcher may publish two articles based on the same dataset but present slightly different analyses or interpretations in each paper without cross-referencing the earlier publication. This creates redundancy and confusion in the scientific literature. Salami slicing. Salami slicing refers to the practice of dividing a single research study into multiple smaller publications in order to increase the number of publications. Instead of presenting the complete findings in one comprehensive paper, the researcher slices the data into several parts and publishes them separately. While it is sometimes acceptable to publish different aspects of a large study separately, salami slicing becomes unethical when the divisions are artificial and intended solely to increase publication count rather than contribute meaningful new knowledge. For example, a researcher conducting a large survey on student performance may publish one paper on math scores, another on science scores, and a third on language scores, even though all the data come from the same study and could have been presented together. This practice unnecessarily fragments the research and reduces its overall impact. Selective reporting. Selective reporting involves presenting only those results that support a desired hypothesis or conclusion while ignoring or omitting data that contradict it. This creates a biased and incomplete representation of the research findings. Selective reporting is unethical because it distorts the truth and can lead to incorrect conclusions. It undermines the reliability of research and can have serious consequences, especially in fields like medicine or public policy. For example, a pharmaceutical company conducting a clinical trial may report only the positive effects of a drug while hiding negative side effects or unsuccessful outcomes. This misleads doctors, patients, and policymakers, potentially causing harm. Misrepresentation of data. Misrepresentation of data refers to the inaccurate or misleading presentation of research findings. This may involve exaggerating results, using inappropriate statistical methods, or presenting data in a way that creates a false impression of results. Although it may not always involve direct fabrication or falsification, misrepresentation still violates ethical principles because it distorts the interpretation of data and misleads readers. For example, a researcher might present a graph that exaggerates small differences between groups by manipulating the scale of the axis, making the results appear more significant than they actually are. Similarly, drawing conclusions that are not supported by the data is also a form of misrepresentation. Ethical implications and consequences. All these practices, duplicate publication, overlapping publication, salami slicing, selective reporting, and misrepresentation of data, undermine the integrity of research. They lead to duplication of information, waste of resources, and confusion in the scientific community. Moreover, they can distort evidence-based decision-making and reduce public trust in research. Researchers found guilty of such practices may face serious consequences, including rejection of manuscripts, retraction of published papers, loss of professional reputation, and disciplinary action by institutions. Conclusion. In conclusion, redundant publication and its related practices represent significant ethical challenges in research. While they may not always involve outright fraud, they still compromise the quality, transparency, and credibility of scientific work. Researchers must adhere to ethical guidelines by ensuring originality, proper acknowledgement, and honest reporting of data. By doing so, they contribute to the advancement of knowledge in a responsible and meaningful way.